lost all you hold dear. You didn't want to hear, now you tremble with fear. This is Sollog, aka Dr. Sollog. In this episode of The End, TheEend.com, I will be discussing my prophecies, known as the Prophecies of Sollog. You can also view them at Sollog.com, that's SOLLOG.com, and PropheciesSollog.com. In 1995, on January 1st, the very first day of that year, I awoke to my divine nature in my name, Sollog, S-O-L-L-O-G. In an astral vision before I awoke that day, which is basically an outer body experience that I manifest from meditation. And at that time I had been meditating over 10 years as a Buddhist. I went to the beginning of time and to the end of time. And I saw many interconnections between everything. I also saw my future where I'd be doing my prophecies, how the world would get further and further away from its spiritual path, and how a near event, an asteroid, after 2020 would strike and kill off most of humanity. There are 3 safe zones, but the reality is no place is really safe for long. The reason humanity has failed to listen to my warnings and turn off the over 500 nuclear reactors, of which many are along coastlines. So when asteroids start to hit the oceans, the tsunamis will create hundreds of Fukushima events all over the world. And the end result is that level of radiation kills all life on Earth, except for perhaps a few insects like cockroaches. So, life as we know it doesn't exist in the long-term future. Some will survive the tsunamis by being in the safe zones, but overall the Earth, if we don't turn off these nuclear reactors, will have so many radioactive spots spewing radiation into the oceans that the ecosystem of the Earth is bound to fail. So that's the sad news, people, is 25 years ago my prophecies gave hope to humanity, and it's only gotten worse. Nuclear reactors are still creating toxic waste that cannot withstand tsunami level events. Humanity is still building near the coast of the oceans where these tsunami events have happened over and over throughout the history of this planet. And not only do earthquakes cause tsunamis, asteroid strikes create mega tsunamis, literally walls of water that are thousands of feet high. You could be 150 miles inland and these waves will still reach you. So only the highest points on Earth, mountain ranges in South America, Canada, North Asia, are high enough and far enough away from water where these these tsunami events do not wipe out the humans that are located in those 3 safe zones. Now, in 1995, when I started doing my prophecies, they were all released to what's known as Usenet. And Usenet is basically the original social media of the internet. In the mid-90s, 1995 to 1999, if not even a little longer into the early 2000s, people who were online had newsreaders, and they all read Usenet groups that were devoted to topics that they were interested in. My prophecies were put in Usenet groups such as Alt Nostradamus, where fans and distractors of Nostradamus were vigorously discussing my prophecies back then. Now, the nice thing about Usenet is the 60 or so major prophecies I've written and released from 1995 to 2015, 21-year period, they were all released to Usenet. And Usenet has a timestamp that people cannot alter. So that was the main reason they were released for free to Usenet. And they're all available for free. And you can see the original timestamps. They've also been put into a book, so it's easier to find them and read them. The books have interactive links to the timestamped prophecies. And you can see, unlike any other mystic, psychic, whatever you want to call it, before me or after me, I had exact details about future events. My prophecies were so accurate that after 9/11, when exact details of 9/11 had been on my site for 3 years before the event, I was detained illegally by the U.S. government and tortured for 5 years in U.S. prisons under Bush. There's 6 case sites in the U.S. Supreme Court detailing this criminal abuse the U.S. government inflicted upon me for merely warning about the future. So that's how they treat a real prophet today, people. They create fake cases against you. They hunt you down. They throw you in a jail. The cases are absolutely fake. They appear to exist in a court record that anyone can create in the government. And the end result is you don't even have appellate rights when they put a job like this on you. So that's the history of my prophecies. If you go to Sollog.com or theend.com, there's links to the prophecies pages, and you can see year by year my major prophecies being released. 1995, the first prophecies on January 1st, 1995 were released. Then the May 13th prophecy. Also that year, my facts to the media about the Oklahoma City bombing also resulted in the government detaining me out in Tucumcari, New Mexico, a nexus for aliens that used to work with Les Aspin and the second hidden government of the United States. That's out near Roswell, New Mexico. It's in Tucumcari, New Mexico. 97 is a major prophecy I released. 902 prophecy details attack on the trade centers, attacks on the media, attacks on celebrities. Also mentions Bill Clinton suffering a death, which is an analogy for his impeachment. So this was before Monica Lewinsky even was known about. I was writing about the adulterer and getting thrown out of office. 1998, the 9/11 warning. Exact details released on 9/11, 1998 about that event. It was covered in world media in Europe and Asia. United States had a little blurb. I believe it was in the New York Times. One of my followers, Leo Phoenix, had gone out days before 9/11 happened in 2001 and said my 1998 prophecy was going to be fulfilled. Now, Leo's given interviews and he's described that angels descended in ships and told him, I am the God of God, and they're here to witness my judgment on humanity. So that's Leo's story, people. Later on, after 1998, there's many other prophecies written, and they all centered around what I called evil lines, which are ley lines, which are power that ancient monuments are built on. So basically, it was the revealing of what's now known as the pentagram of blood. It was the whole purpose of my prophecies, to show humanity, look, these mass death events for millennia through history have been occurring on the same lines that humans flock to, like moths to a flame. And these energy lines form pentagrams. And it's where mass death events occur. It's where all the terrorism events are occurring. It's where earthquakes occur, hurricanes. All this negative energy is striking pentagrams of blood. There's 7 of them around the world. The main one that I've been writing about is the one in the United States. But if you go to pentagramofblood.com, you can see tons of information for free about where this negative energy is striking. So that is the main thrust of my prophecies over the years, was to reveal this pentagram of blood. Also, in 2002, my 31 disasters prophecy, that is the greatest prophecy ever written. Gave exact locations of 17 locations in the United States where hurricanes in the future would strike. They were all struck within 15 years. Period, people. I gave you the locations in that one prophecy where 15 natural disasters then struck. It's the greatest prophecy ever written. Nostradamus never wrote anything like that. Other prophets never were so exact with so many events. That is why in the future many refer to me as Sollog, the Great. For I am the greatest prophet in the history of humanity. Now, a little bit later on, I reveal other prophecies such as the pentagram of blood prophecy, which gets very specific about the solstice lines. And in these later prophecies, I list 49 cities around the world that create, the pentagrams of blood all over the world. And exact cities with exact events were mentioned in these prophecies. Like Christchurch just recently had a massacre in the mosques. Well, my prophecies say that in the future, any type of religious temple, mosque, church will be where mass death events occur. So it's my terrorism prophecy, people. Just read the cities in it. Before all these recent events happened, these cities were outlined where they were going to happen. Paris, the massacres in Paris. It was in my prophecy. I named Paris. It's on one of the central lines that create the European pentagram of blood. So there's not really a lot of prophecies when you consider over 21 years. Only around 60 prophecies I released. Now, I also released a set of quatrains like Nostradamus, 1,000 of them, but they're 4-line poems, so they're quatrains. So they're very specific, very simple poems. The 60 prophecies that were all released to Usenet, most of them are a page or two of them. and they detail many exact events. So when you start tracking my work and names I've named and the pentagrams of blood and the dates, how 113 appears over and over, like the Fukushima event, I talked about nuclear plants having meltdowns, tsunamis, and sure enough, on 3/11, one of the dates I said has 113 in it. That event happened, and it's completely destroyed the ecosystem of the Pacific Ocean, people. You don't even understand how tragic that one event was for humanity. And in the near future, we got hundreds of these Fukushima level events when tsunamis hit. So, unless a miracle happens and humanity turns off these reactors and gets the waste from them way inland, away from waters and stuff, I see no future for this planet, unfortunately, anymore. It's just, tried my best. I put over 20 years of my life, which 5 were in prisons, for warning humanity of the future, and no one wants to listen. Very few people listen. Granted, I said all along it was only meant for about 6 million people to take my words seriously and get out of Dodge and get up to high ground and start getting meal rations so they can hunker down in a cave underground and have some bullets and ammo so they could survive, the darkness from this asteroid event. It's going to throw a lot of dirt up in the air. You're going to lose sunlight for a few years. So forget global warming. You're about to have an ice age when there's no sun, going through the cloud that these asteroids can create. Also, you have the event of nuclear terrorism. Humanity starts lobbing nuclear warheads all over the world. Such an event, again, is going to block out the sun, and unless you have 5 years of rations or more, and then seeds to replant when the sun clears, people just start eating each other. Humans are going to become cannibals, unless they're in a safe zone, out of the way from where people are eating each other in the developed areas. So there's a lot of negative things that are coming to pass, and these events, people, are cyclical. I mean, lifespan on the Earth for over 500 million years. The planet's 5 billion years. Now, microbe life developed almost instantly on this planet. My theory, EOE theory, explains that elliptical orbit effects all over the universe create abundant life. I mean, microbial life is everywhere. And if a planet is stable long enough, microbian life does eventually become complex life. So when we look at the history of complex life on Earth, it goes back 550 million years. And after the first 50 million years, almost all life was wiped out, over 90% of life. An event happened. And then complex life took foot again, and it grew vigorously for another 250 million years. And then the same type of event happened, where almost all life was wiped out. Fast forward another 250 million years, and that is where we are. And already, scientists are calling our age the Holocenic, or the Holocene extinction, because of how many species have been going extinct since the end of the last ice age. So, it wasn't recent carbon that created these extinctions. The planet has been becoming uninhabitable for a lot of life forms starting 12,000 years ago. Now, the interesting thing about these extinctions is they match the cycle of the Milky Way, how long it takes the Earth and its sun to orbit around the Milky Way, which is approximately 250 million years. So where we are now is where we were 250 million years ago when the last super great extinction happened. Over 90% of life went extinct. And another great cycle of the Milky Way, before that, another 250 million years, the first great extinction of life started on this planet. So every time we're in this position of the Milky Way, most life just dies. So, there's a pull on the Earth through gravity in this area that makes the quakes more common, produces volcanic dust up in the atmosphere that blocks off life. Is that what it's doing? Is there more asteroids in this area that are prone to hit Earth? Something about this area of the Milky Way is why these extinction events have been happening every 250 million years. Now, there's 3 more extinction events mixed in there that weren't as severe as the 2 great extinctions. So the 3 lesser extinctions, most recent was only 60 or so million years ago, the alleged dinosaur extinction. Well, I've written about that, and what it was the hothouse effect. The carbon on Earth reached 4,000 parts per million, and at that level, the surface temperature averaged about 130 degrees, and anything that was on the surface couldn't breathe. The lungs of surface animals don't adapt to extreme temperatures over 130 degrees. Now, where are we today? Well, we're at around 400, or 10% of the carbon level that produced the effect that killed off the dinosaurs. 100 years ago, we were at 200. So the industrial age, in that time period, the last 150 years, we've seen a doubling of carbon. Is it from all the carbon our factories produce, all our cars? Or is it also the carbon that's being released from the polar caps melting, which is a cyclical thing? So it's happening. We're having increased carbon levels. End result is it creates a form of a hothouse effect that isn't as severe as when the dinosaurs roamed. But the end result is severe weather patterns have definitely changed in the past 25 years since I started writing my prophecies. What was an occasional once in a decade Hurricane 5 storm hitting the U.S., well, now you can have several in a year hit the U.S. Earthquakes. What used to be rare earthquakes are now common. There's been a 100% increase in the largest size quakes. So this data has been around. They've been tracking with seismographs over 100 years worth of quake data. And the past 20 years, we've seen literally a 100% increase in the largest quakes around the world. So it's not that there's more quakes. It's that the magnitude of the quakes are now very extreme. So my prophecies are world famous. They were huge in the 90s when Usenet was social media. 2005, I went away for 5 years. I'm back. Since I've been back, my prophecies that were released after 2010 were also released to YouTube. There's another timestamp. Now you have this podcast of my show, The End. And it's being kicked off with me discussing my famous prophecies. So people, go read them. Some of you are just skeptics. Well, guess what? The timestamps prove you're a moron. If you want to refute my prophecies, you have an IQ that is so low, you shouldn't even be on the internet. My work is time-stamped. No one has ever been as accurate as I. No one will ever be as accurate as I. So, as far as prophecies go, I am Rabbi Nabi. That's the great prophet in Hebrew. I am Sollog. And I've signed all my major prophecies, Sollog, the word of one, the one above God. Also, decades ago, I released my work about how we could create 6 and 10 dimensional realities inside computers. The stuff they're calling AI computers today isn't AI, people. It's just very powerful binary computers. They just understand 2D, on and off. Well, in the middle 70s, before personal computers even existed, I theorized in a think tank, cube bytes. That's using a cube shape of logic, 6 sides, 6 dimensions, and also a decagon shaped byte, 10 sides. So a data stream would not just be on and off, 2-dimensional. It would create 6 and 10 dimensional data streams. Now, the processors don't exist that would understand my logic. And my logic now is in the think tank Helix Q. That's helix, like a helix DNA strand with the letter Q, like Quebec. HelixQ.org reveals my 6 and 10 dimensional languages, and if humanity could create processors that would understand my logic, these supercomputers would be real AI. They would have 6 and 10 dimensional thought, and little 3D animals like humans could live inside a 6 or 10 dimensional computer. So that's what it's all led to, people. We're realizing that the universe is basically illusion. And, that concept's been around for millennia. The Greeks, the Pythagoreans, they worshipped the cube, which is the cube processor. They thought life was illusion. The Buddhist life is illusion is well known. So it's like a dream state. You're all here experiencing this reality, but your energy goes way beyond this 3-dimensional holographic universe. Another one of my books, Holographic Universes, plural.com, computeruniversetheory.com. So my work is all about enlightening humans to the fact that events are programmed, and it was proven with my work on the pentagramofblood.com. It's why my prophecies were so accurate. All I did was write about things that happen along certain energy lines, the same lines the Great Pyramids are on, the pyramids of Giza, pyramids in Mexico, other pyramid-shaped mountains that we're now finding that go back way before modern man even lived. These huge earthen pyramids that most likely are man-made, some type of humanoid built. These mountains that are pyramids. They exist all over the world, people. So if you want to start getting into my work, my prophecies are the beginning. You can find my prophecies at prophesiessollog.com. You can find my prophecies on sollog.com. On the end, TheEend.com. 3 E's, people. TheEnd.com, there's links to my prophecies. It's best to read them in book form, so otherwise it takes a lot of work. looking around the net, and the net jumps around, whereas the books put them in a chronological order, and you can see them. And the books have hyperlinks to timestamps in Usenet. I mean, I wrote these things, people, starting in 1995, and it's all led to the great revelation of pentagrams of blood, holographic universe, solstice lines, how everything is related to energy. And now the world of physics has been turned upside down, with me revealing what was wrong with Newton, Einstein, and Hawking. They were all wrong. So theoryE.org is my book that rewrites the laws of physics. I show how Newton's universal law is wrong. The atomic mass of gases are not attracted to the huge mass of Earth, so that completely destroys mass being the main attraction of matter in the universe. I show Einstein's equation equals mc squared that he didn't even create. It was created before he released his work. Other physicists knew about this equation. And it's just a simple math loop. I mean, it's nonsense. You understand math, it's almost an inside joke. So much for Einstein. And as far as the black holes of Hawking, well, the new theory that I put forth is that black holes are actually an anti-electromagnetic field. They're at the center of every universe, and they're recycling machines. When any form of matter or energy gets near the event horizon of this type of field of a black hole, that matter and energy is reduced to one of two things. Matter is reduced to simple protons that are repelled. So protons do not enter a black hole. In fact, nothing enters a black hole. It's just the point where matter is recycled into protons, and it can be reused. Now, when energy gets near a black hole, well, the black hole collects the energy like a charge, and then it disperses it. It's gamma ray bursts, plasma. So we see plasma being emitted from black holes. We see protons being repelled. So the data shows that Hawking, Einstein, none of these people had a clue as to what was really going on. They were miles off. Okay? Black holes don't suck anything in. They just break down matter, recycle it, and repel it back as protons and plasma. So, I'm a big thinker, people. The small remnant of humans that survive will know who I am. And as long as there is some type of life walking around Earth before the ultimate fate of this planet kills all intelligent life that can't survive toxic radiation levels, well, my work and my theories will be known. This is Sollog, Sollog. You can go to my site, Sollog.com. My over 100 books that I've written, a lot of them are written through Dr. Sollog, my AKA for my academic work. So you can go to Sollog.com, that's SOLADONI.com. You can go to Prophecies.Sollog.com. You can go to this podcast site, TheEnd.com. And The End is also a series of books I wrote, a fictionalized account of what happens when the asteroids and nuclear war hits Earth, how some humans do survive the end. How long will they survive for? Well, if we don't get those nuclear reactors turned off, they're not going to survive very long after the dust settles and the sun comes back out. So it's up to you, people. Get involved. Get nuclear power plants decommissioned and turned off. There's not that much time left to get it done. So maybe humanity surprises me. Maybe it doesn't. So that's my work, people, the pivotal part, the prophecies. Other podcasts I'll be discussing various aspects of my work in more detail, like my work with quake predictions, 3 lines that are tied to solstice lines control all the quakes. Greatquakes.com. That's where you can find out that information. Theory is at theory.org. My work with AI level software for future cube and decagon byte processors at helixq.org. That's Helix, the letter Q, like Quebec.org. I've done a lot of work over my life, people. So go out there and start looking at the sites, download the books, get informed, liquidate your assets, and get to high ground. And maybe you'll be one of the survivors. You want to sit here and deny what's going on? Well, that's fine. You don't have long to deny. The asteroids will strike, and then you'll understand. I was right. You were wrong. So, believe in it or disbelieve. You'll know in the near future how right I was. Thanks for listening. This is Sollog of The End. TheeEnd.com. That's 3 E's in The End. Have a great day.
The end is very near. Lost all you hold dear. You didn't want to hear. Now you tremble with fear.